It's time for Business Minds Coffee Chat, an inspiring show about the journey to personal and professional growth. And now, your host, Jay Shear.
Hey everyone, you're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am your host, Jay Shear, and I am super excited today. I've got a fantastic guest right here in the studio with me. My guest today is a husband to Heather and a father to two. He was born in Virginia, raised by his mom in Kentucky, and has made Palm Coast his home since 2019. When he's not working, you'll likely find him drag racing motorcycles and spending quality time with family. Please welcome the owner and operator of Pro Tent LLC, Jeremy Davis. Jeremy, it is fantastic to see you. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's an honor to be here, actually.
That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. So I really am excited about this conversation. So you and I, we will typically see each other once a week, and I always appreciate the comments that you make when I do see you. You are also, many people who are watching and listening today, they may not necessarily know much about you kind of behind the scenes, but many people who are active in the city of Palm Coast are probably familiar with you from Palm Coast City Council meetings. You're very active in the community, very active in speaking up, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But mostly, I want to focus on you and your story. So I mentioned that in the intro that you were born in Virginia. Now, I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I don't know if you knew that.
I did.
Okay, so central part of the state. So what part of Virginia were you from? Were you born?
I was born in Woodbridge.
Okay, Woodbridge.
So Nova.
Okay, very good. So northern Virginia. Okay.
Yeah, we should clarify that for people that aren't from Virginia.
Good point. Absolutely. So I'll just share with you briefly that when I was growing up in Virginia, so I've been a musician since the time that I was probably 10, 11 years old. And at one point when I was living in Virginia, I was playing music professionally, and some musician buddies and I used to go to Northern Virginia every single weekend. There was an amazing music store there that catered to musicians. And we used to go there and buy our equipment and do all the fun things. And it was like a candy store for me. But anyway, So you grew up in that part of Virginia, and you were born in that part of Virginia, and you were raised by your mom in Kentucky. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing. So how do you get from being born in Virginia to Kentucky and then being raised by mom?
So my mom and dad divorced when I was 3.
Okay.
And at 6, my mom, with the man she was with, moved to Kentucky because he was in the Army.
Okay.
And so that's how I got to Kentucky, and I spent 10 more years there, and then I moved back to Virginia at 17.
Okay. All right. And you have a sibling, correct? You have a brother?
I have an older brother, a half-sister, and then I have 3 stepsisters and 1 stepbrother.
Wow. Okay. All right. Interesting. And what was life like growing up for you in Kentucky? So you're 10 years there. What kind of child were you? Were you a rule follower? Were you a good kid? Just give us kind of a sense of what Jeremy was like.
Jeremy had a chip on his shoulder.
Okay.
Really, I was trying to find a connection with my father, and I never could seem to find that connection. I didn't really even know who he was. So I spent a lot of my years trying to make him proud of me. And in the grand scheme of things, I lost the connection of my actual family that was there for me. And so I ventured off to friends' homes and treated them more my family.
Okay.
I tried to stay away from the stepfather because him and I never clicked, and it was easier to avoid the problem. And so that's what I did most of my life, is avoid problems.
So let's talk about that a bit. So having that chip on your shoulder and wanting to find ways to make your father, your birth father, proud of you, what were some of the things that you were doing? So when you thought about, if you can think back, when you thought about trying to make Dad proud, what did you envision for yourself?
Well, I played sports. I'm very competitive. I have an older brother.
Okay.
And he lived with my dad. So I always wanted to outshine him because he was in my father's eyes all the time.
Mm.
And if from Kentucky, if I can make him see me, then I know I'm doing something right. And for some reason, I can never get that to happen. But as I got older, I found out that wasn't me. That was choices he made.
Mm.
And, I mean, I'm pretty wise with it now.
Yeah. But that's a process, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? That doesn't just happen. There's a lot of work involved in that.
Oh, there's been a lot of work.
Yeah. And so I think it's important that we explore some of that as well because, you know, as people are listening and watching our conversation today, you know, often you never quite know the impact that your words are going to have on someone else's life. So someone else could be listening and going through maybe not the exact same experience, right, but something comparable, something similar, mm-hmm. and they hear you and they hear something that you've done, something that you've learned, something that you have done,
something they can relate to.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's really the power of a show of this nature. So, you know, as we continue the conversation, I would love it, and you know, we're going to go back a little bit as well, but I would love it if you would share with all of us what one of the hardest things is, one of the hardest things that you've done in life that has really pushed you beyond your comfort zone. What is one thing that you've done that just is one of those ridiculously hard things?
One of the hardest things that I've done is actually put down holding myself so much to where I'm keeping myself from growing.
Putting yourself down?
Mm-hmm. Because I blame myself for a lot of my problems.
Okay.
You know, like I have a son you mentioned at the beginning of the show who is not in my life, mm-hmm. hasn't been in my life since he was 1.5. And I in turn at the beginning turned to alcohol for that problem. And once I realized that alcohol is not the solution, mm-hmm. that it's actually your mindset, that's one of the hardest things that I've had to overcome was my mindset.
So leaving your son, obviously there's a story to that, mm-hmm. right? There's a lot to that, and there may be some pieces of that I don't want to put words in your mouth or make any assumptions, but there may be some aspects of that you don't want to necessarily discuss.
Oh, I don't care.
Okay. So what was it that led you to either walk away from that situation where you've not had a relationship with your son, or was that a decision made by others or someone else?
So that was my ex pretty much making I mean, she took me through the court process and put a restraining order on me for 2 years. And then in those 2 years, alcoholism really took me down a bad road and I became homeless.
Okay. And when that was happening, and this was all a result of what you were experiencing at that time, right? The situation.
Remember back when I told you I moved to Virginia?
Yes.
Well, I got emancipated and I was on my own. So I grew up really quick. My dad didn't let me, you know, he wasn't my father. I mean, yeah, I call him dad, but he wasn't someone I could look to.
Yeah.
So I never had that.
Take your time. Emancipated.
Yeah, so I was on my own, and I didn't have the right person to fall into to give me direction.
Role model.
Correct.
Father figure.
Right.
Okay.
So I just did everything that I had learned growing up, and that was watching my dad drink, watching my brother drink, my grandfather drink, my grandparents drink. Drinking was the solution. That's how I figured they solved their problems, I guess, was drinking, because that's what they did.
But you've broken the cycle.
After a while, yeah.
Yeah, but
it took me a while.
But I think about that, right? I mean, that's
growth.
That's growth.
Mm-hmm.
And you found there was something that has happened in your life where there was a switch, whether it was...
At the beginning, you said who I'm married to. That's the switch.
That's the switch. So describe Heather to us. So knowing that she has had that substantial an impact on you and on your choices and on your life, describe a little bit about her to us.
Easiest way I can describe it is she's my sunshine. Every day when I wake up, she's right there. She's the light to my eyes. It's just, she believes in me like nobody has ever before, besides my mom. And she instilled me to see the value I had of myself. And once I seen that, that's when I started to truly grow.
How did the two of you meet?
I was a cook. I was a cook at a restaurant. And so I actually cooked for her and her used-to-be husband. They came in all the time. I knew their orders.
Okay.
And then she started coming in by herself. And it wasn't the normal person, because she's a butterfly. She goes around and she's just a happy-go person. And she was coming in sad. And I don't like seeing people I know sad. If I see something bother you, I'm going to, hey, what's going on? Can I talk to you? Because, like you said, you never know what our words can do to people.
That's right.
And so in that, I found out that she was going through a divorce, and I was going through a separation myself. And I was like, after a couple of nights she coming in, I was like, hey, do you want to go out? And so we went out and shot pool, and here we are still together.
That's incredible. So how did she specifically help you realize the value that you have as a human being?
She was persistent with me. She told me quite often, and she helped me open my eyes to see everything I was capable of doing if I just applied myself. And I knew that if I would apply myself from the beginning of when I was in school, that I could have done so much. So I'm late on applying myself.
But you're there now.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what matters.
Correct.
We can't change what has happened to us. We can't necessarily change the past, but we can certainly affect our future.
Correct.
We can take all those lessons that we've learned, the things that we would have liked to have done that we didn't do, and we can apply those to today and truly make massive impact.
Try to make yourself a better person each day.
Absolutely.
Or not a better person, just make yourself better.
That's the only thing we have control over.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
We don't control other people's actions or what they choose to do, but we have
that choice.
That choice and that ability. Absolutely. So, Jeremy, we're going to put a pin in this conversation for a moment. We are going to take a brief break to thank our amazing sponsors. My friends, don't you go anywhere. You are listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and we will be right back.
There's no business like show business like no business I know. Visit the Fitzgerald Performing Arts Center at Flagler Auditorium. We're about to release our new season of professional touring shows. Visit our website at flaglerentertainment.com. Sign up for our newsletter. You can be the first to know about our shows and special offers. And remember, every time you buy a ticket to a show, you support the performing arts in Flagler schools and you support our local economy.
This is Jay Shear. Are you a business owner or entrepreneur trying to figure out how to improve and achieve greater results? If so, I'm speaking to you. I provide the tools, coaching, and accountability you need to gain clarity around your personal and professional goals, remove the excuses holding you back, build the mindset, leadership skills, and proven strategies to grow your business and become the best version of yourself. To learn more or to apply for my coaching services, call 904-236-0431 or visit JShearBusinessConsulting.com.
Thank you so much for recommending us to your family and friends. When you need a 30, 60, or 90-minute massage, it's real easy to book your appointment online. MassageByNatalie.org. MassageByNatalie.org.
All right, we're back. And again, you're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am in the studio today with my very special guest, Jeremy Davis. Man, what an interesting conversation. You know, I always love exploring someone's story, and it's my belief that everyone, there isn't one person that you come in contact with who doesn't have a story. And we all do, right? We all go through that human experience. And so, Jeremy, there was something that you had said before we took the break that I was thinking about, and I want to go back to, and it was when you said that you were emancipated. Help me understand what was happening at that time in life for you. And emancipation, I mean, that was a legal remedy to a situation, a legal thing that you had experienced. Walk me through that a little bit.
So my mom had custody of me,
okay,
and I was going down the wrong road in Kentucky and decided I needed change, or I like to call avoidance. I was avoiding my problems, and I ran to Virginia. But in order for that happen, I needed to be emancipated from my mother so I could live with my brother because my father didn't have enough room for me.
Okay. All right. So you initiated that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I was running.
Okay. You were running. You initiated the emancipation that allowed you then to be able to
become an adult.
And so did you end up living with your brother at this point?
I did move in with my brother.
Okay.
Until I caught his wife cheating on him.
Oh, okay.
And then they had to ask me to exit. So I was at a church. I was very active in church.
Okay.
And I moved in with a church family. And then I got into, my dad was a volunteer firefighter. Well, the church family I was with, their dad was a volunteer firefighter as well. So I became a volunteer firefighter in Spotsylvania, Virginia.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So do you, is your brother still living?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you and your brother have?
We drag race.
So you have a good relationship today?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. You drag race together.
Sometimes. I mean, I'll try to find an event that he'll be at just so I can beat him.
Okay.
It's competitive.
Now, I know you're sitting next to me. I'm not sitting next to your brother, so maybe your brother's response would be different, but are you a better drag racer than he is? Or do you have comparable skills?
He taught me, so, I mean, he's good at what he does. I mean, I would like to say I'm better, but he's better because he taught me.
Okay. Interesting. What does drag racing do for you? What does it fulfill?
It clears my mind.
Tell me more about that.
You all your problems go away. You're at the line. It's just you and the machine, and of course whoever you're up against. And you have seconds to process a lot of information. I mean, right now I'm running an 1/8 mile in 5 seconds. So in 5 seconds, I have a lot of process. If the motorcycle starts doing wheelies, there's things I got to do. If it's spinning, there's things I got to do. I don't know if you noticed on Facebook, I just put a video where this chain popped off.
I saw that, yes.
And it hit that was the water pump it hit, and water came out. So luckily that was water, not oil. I could have went down last night.
Wow. What is the speeds that you are trying to achieve or that you would typically achieve in this brief period of time?
So right now I'm at the fastest I've been is 137 in the 8th mile.
Okay.
We're trying to get up to 180.
Wow.
I want to get in the low 4s.
So I know that you said that racing clears your mind. You must obviously be hyper focused on just the act of what you're about to do, right? You do all this training at the moment that you actually, kick it and you're going. Does anything else enter your mind? Do you ever think about mortality and
No.
life and?
Right before you let go of the button, you're telling yourself, all right, here we go. It's no different than being at King's Dominion. As you're about to cross that crest of the hill, on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm on here. I'm stuck. Can't back out now. And then you're just along for the ride.
And then when the ride's over and
if everything goes as according to plan and everything checks the boxes and you lay down a great lap, it's very rewarding.
Describe that feeling to me, if you can.
Well, like for me, I do a 60 feet in 1.209. That's the fastest I've went. Or actually, I haven't. 1195 is my fastest 60 foot.
Okay.
That's scooting. Just if anybody's trying to understand, I'm going from 0 and 60 feet in 1.195 seconds. And in that process, that little quick 60 feet, it really, my mind just, because you feel the power and it's pushing you. And you're I want to say about 3 G's into this, like that's how much force it is. And when it starts smooth sailing and you're about to lay down that perfect lap and you get back to the trailer, you and your buddy that put all the hard work into this, all of your dedication, your passionate hours paid off for just that little something goal that you were searching. Nobody else was searching for that goal. Nobody else really cares about your goal. But when you reach that goal, you and your buddy, you can hug, mentally, I'm reaching goals every day.
Why do you do it?
Why do we do anything? I mean, if we don't have a purpose, what is our purpose? Racing to me has a purpose for me.
Tell me what that purpose means to you.
For me, I'm able to express my experiences to other racers. Like, their experience, because I've grown up at a racetrack, so it's something I know. It's like a second family to me. I have friends that are in Virginia that I call family. So it is a second family to me. I have a tent family as well, because I do competitive window tinting. And so pretty much people I involve in my life are like family. So if you're in my little circle, that means you're family, and I will always protect those in my circle.
Are you done proving yourself to someone else or other people?
I am done trying to chase the relationship with my father. I'm done proving who I am. I think people know who I am. They know I'm very competitive. They know I'm very passionate. And they know I'm very voice opinionated.
Are you good enough?
For myself or for Palm Coast, or what do you want me to be good enough
However
for?
you want to define it. Are you good enough? Do you feel today that you're good enough?
Yes.
Good. Good. I'm glad to hear that. And there's no right or wrong answer, but I'm glad to hear.
Oh, no, before you would have got no.
Okay. Well, through the conversation and through certainly some experiences that you've had where you certainly didn't value yourself, and you've learned a lot about valuing yourself through Heather and finding ways to highlight the fact that, Jeremy, you are good enough, right? You're good enough. You don't need to chase. You don't need to try to become something that you think somebody else needs you to be. You don't need to do a certain thing to be able to prove to somebody else that you're worth something. Because when it's all said and done, what matters is how you feel about yourself, right? Not what you think somebody else may feel about you. It is about you and how you feel. And so one of the things that I really enjoy about having conversation is asking deeper questions, meaningful questions, not, Jeremy, how's the weather today? Or, how'd you sleep last night? Right? I really want to get to the heart of a matter, get to understand something, and let my curiosity guide the way. So with that said, I would love it if you would share maybe one or two bigger questions that you think about, that you contemplate on. One or two questions, the bigger ones, the meatier ones that are important. It could be about life, could be about community, could be about business. But what do you think about? Just one or two questions that you're asking yourself.
That's a good question. I used to ask myself a lot of questions. Right now, I truly don't ask myself questions. I believe in prayer. So I've come to assumption I wouldn't be right now where I'm at if I hadn't put my trust in myself. So instead of doubting myself, I quit. Asking myself questions would be me doubting myself, I guess.
Okay.
So if I'm asking, am I doing this the right way? I mean, is it a right way? Like, what's politically correct to you? What is the right way?
It's your way.
Correct. So I don't ask myself questions. I just do what needs to be done. And as I grow and my business grows, my family grows, I just incorporate that into my everyday life.
Fair enough. Jeremy, I want to thank you for joining me today on Business Minds Coffee Chat. First of all, I've enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed learning a bit more about you and kind of digging into your philosophy a bit. We will definitely have more conversations. They may or may not be on the air, but I do know we're going to have more conversations.
Yeah, you wrote down a lot. I left a lot of open. There's a lot of channels we can go to.
Absolutely. But I want to thank you so very much. I'm grateful for you. Thank you for being here.
It was my pleasure.
Absolutely. Cool. And for all of you, I want to thank you so very much for tuning into Business Minds Coffee Chat, both on the air as well as on YouTube. We will be back again next Saturday morning at 8:30. And until then, my friends, keep learning, keep growing, and keep doing the work to reach your potential. Take care, everybody.